Let's tie this up and take it from the TOP. Yeah, let's start over. All right. All right, so here's how I'm
What
gonna start it.
happens?
Huh?
This is what happens, sis. This is what happens.
No, no,
Whoa.
well,
You
no,
know how
maybe
many
it happens. It happens when people are trustees a lot, of course. But everything happens for a reason, and it is what it is. Thank you to the guys that stayed with me, and I rebooted so many times myself to try and get you on here today. Perfection is not always in the stars, and so it is what it is. But here's what I'm gonna do whilst I'm speaking to you. I'm gonna choose to cleanse the air because something are going and I don't want it over here.
Yeah, I
I want to go through the window. Yeah.
do the same thing my end. I've been doing that actually before I
Mhm.
came on. I was clearing the space, but I want to
Mhm.
do the same thing. Just one second. You're going to see the ceiling for a
You know,
second while I do.
sometimes it's not even about, it's about sometimes cleansing oneself. It's not always about the space, it's within the individual sometimes. Real talk. So what
Anyway,
people tend to talk about burning stuff, but sometimes we are the problem.
well, sometimes,
Of
but
course, of course, of course.
when it comes to TIs, which I am a targeted individual, this comes with the territory. That's why I haven't used
Right.
I. They've
All
blocked
right. So
me.
before we get into it, I'm gonna paste you for how I do my lives. Yeah.
Okay,
So
go.
let's start here because it's been so disruptive. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I would happily start over, but you may not get on this live girl again, so there's no point me starting over. All right. So 7. Let's breathe.
Greetings, greetings, greetings,
Thank
greetings.
you for your relentless efforts. Let's start with how did you spend your day today leading up to this talk? What did you get up to?
Well, today I actually rested because I needed to rest. I didn't sleep yesterday, and
Mm-hmm.
the circumstances are that when I can get rest, I take it. I work a lot through the nights,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I'm launching a hashtag. We're preparing for that, which is Back Off Live.
Mm-hmm.
And it is basically highlighting that a lot of us as melanated sisters in the
Mm-hmm.
UK and around the world are being targeted right now.
Okay,
And
so don't get into it yet. I'm gonna paste you because I know you're gonna go. Yeah, I'm
so
gonna
that
paste you. Yeah, that's how you spent your morning. Yeah, all right. Okay, I'm gonna start with some warm up questions, and I feel like the reason why I do that, the reason why I did it because people tend to just zoom, like have a, it's like we need to have a bit of a foreplay before we get to the climax. Otherwise, the live will be over in 5 minutes. So all right. So let's start with who is Seven as a soul? Tell me a bit about you as a soul. Who are you?
that's a deep one, isn't it? Who am I?
Let's go. Let's
Um,
go.
well, I am a starseed, definitely. I basically I'm a very spiritual individual. I am a very creative individual, but I would say the last 20 plus years, 19 specifically dealing with the matter we're going to talk about today, has been in law. I never intended to do law, but my journey has led me into the judiciary. Can you hear me all right? Is it the signal okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's good. And so, yeah, I'm the seventh child in my family. This is why I'm 7.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, even though there was only 3 of us, 4 of my mother's children passed before, in infancy, childbirth, etc. In those days, there wasn't the kind of treatment that you get when you have a child in distress during pregnancy. The actual hospitals at that time, we're talking the 60s, was not as good as it is today. So my mother had 4 babies that passed before I came along. So I'm the 7th child.
Okay, so
And
this
one of
is who you are as a soul. I'm not getting into the subject just yet. This is the warm-up zone. So this is
yeah,
who you are as a soul. Yeah?
I would say I've incarnated here, because I think the 7th child definitely has, well, certainly in my case, is called in many ways. Sometimes people say to break generational curses. You know, there's a lot of prophecy behind the seventh child. So I'm the living testament. My journey has been the living testament to that. But, you know, I play guitar. One of my greatest passions is being a musician. I session for
Are you
people.
any good?
I was a session musician for many years for famous
Oh,
artists.
I have to get you back on here one day. I've been wanting to do musician night, so that's great. So you play music. You play music. Who else are you as a soul that you'd like to share before we go on to the next question?
Yeah, I mean, this my spiritual self. You know, I mean, I do recognize myself as 5 bodies. So the mental body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, the etheric body, the practical body, the intellectual body particularly. And so, you know, I address all of my bodies. So I like to work out to keep my physical body.
Nice.
I like to, you know, make sure that I cleanse my mental body and keep it healthy. Good intake of positivity, high frequency energies.
Mhm.
Stuff, and you know, I love to dance. Yeah, I'm a starseed. I'm a high frequency being, and I
Nice.
intentionally so, you know, I live my path. Particularly for my journey to date, I have to
Okay.
keep my frequency high, you know, and
Okay.
so, you know, I'm a creative being, and so I have many creative pursuits, as much as my sort of law stuff, and which we're going to get into, because I'm also a
Mhm.
judge. I have my own tribunal. Last
Okay.
year, I mobilized
Can I stop?
32.
Can I stop you for a moment? Can I go on to the next question? Yeah. I don't want to. I need to repeat this. So, I mean, I always ask people to watch a bit of my live today, see how I flow. Again, so let me go to the next warm-up question before we get actually into the subject, which is, what is your origin? Where's your folks from?
All right, I'm from the Caribbean, and my family are from the Caribbean, from the islands of Dominica and Guadeloupe. And so, yeah, I'm born in the UK.
Really?
Yeah.
My father's Dominican. Snap.
Wow. What part?
Mm.
What part?
It's moved between Soufriere and is it Gallia?
Wow, we could
Yeah,
be
I haven't yet been there, so maybe let's see.
Wow, we could be
Yeah.
family. Family from Soufriere. I have family in
Mm.
Soufriere.
Gallia. Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So you are full Dominican then. Yeah, your parents are Dominican.
well, some of my family are in Guadeloupe, so it's
Okay.
kind of, yeah, but the
Okay.
same. Yeah.
All right. What was you like as a child?
And what was I like as a child?
Mm.
Uh, very shy.
Mhm.
Very shy, very learned, very interested in guitar and music. I spent a lot of years reading. There's a lot of books in my family.
Mm.
Have a lot of books in my family, a lot of genii in my family. Um,
Nice.
Particularly my elder brother. He was my greatest influence in my life.
That's nice. That's nice. Do you have a favorite childhood memory that you would like to share?
A favorite childhood memory.
Mhm.
Just I grew up very family orientated, lots of family, cousins, you know, large tribe of family, and you know, we had a very musical household. It was sort of lots of books, lots of music, lots of dance, you know. I think I grew up in one of the most fantastic eras, the 70s, you
Oh
know,
wow,
when
snap.
it's like awesome, you know.
Sure.
And so my favorite time is dancing with family, friends, you know, that kind of thing in my childhood. That was huge. Lots of parties as well, lots of family gatherings.
Nice. Well, you're Caribbean. What do you expect? Of course. What
Yeah.
color? Let's talk about colors because I feel like whether we believe, subscribe to it or not, we put on something or we have a color in our home or we see colors and it affects our mood. So what color what color best describes you?
I think as an indigo, starseed indigo, I probably have an indigo hue, but it depends because obviously I don't know if you talk about the chakra system, but I think most of us change our hues depending on what energy we're vibrating at. So
Mm-hmm.
if I to do talks and stuff like that, that's very blue, that's very throat chakra. And so, because I'm spiritual, I would probably be vibrating. If you were put to take a photograph of me with a Kirlian photograph, camera, I mean to
Mm-hmm.
say, you would probably pick up that I'm probably vibrating at a quite indigo color right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what is your favorite color when you're shopping for garments or things for your home? Do you have a favorite color externally outside of spirituality?
Um, the home thing we're going to get into because they've taken
No,
my home.
no.
That
Being,
space
being
right
consumed, being consumed by the storyline is what I'm trying to not do with people when I come on this live until we get there. So we all have a favorite thing, even if trauma's, active in our life. You know what I
now. Right.
mean?
Yeah, I'm not in my own space. Let's just put it that way at the moment.
Okay.
So I don't have a home thing going on at the
So
moment,
even
but
with clothing or colors, or do you have a favorite thing that you're drawn to when you're out shopping or you're out browsing or?
I like, and it depends on my energy and what I want to project. I intentionally project, so I like vibrant colors. Sometimes it depends. Like today, I'm wearing black.
Me
That's
too.
that's
I'm
it.
bright.
But I'm drawn to color. I love color. I love beautiful bright yellows, oranges, and you see me rocking that most days of the week, but I don't have access to my stuff right now. So I have a small wardrobe. So right
Okay.
now I'm pretty muted as far as color, but generally speaking, I do wear a lot of color.
Okay, so
Oh,
you're colorful being regardless. Okay, so this is my last random, should I say, warm-up question before we get into the actual layers of the subject, which is, do you have a favorite word? And you can also interpret that as, is there a word that best describes you, whichever one you gravitate to in the question. A favorite word that you like or a word that best describes you? Just one, if you had to pick one.
love.
Oh,
If I
that's
had to,
nice.
it would be love.
Mhm.
I vibrate at the frequency of love.
That's
My
very
cousin,
beautiful and poetic. That's beautiful.
my cousin used to call me the master of love. But if I had another word, if you gave me three
So,
words,
okay, I'll give you three. I'll be generous. Today it's Friday.
I would say it's
Go
big for
on.
me. Truth is big for me.
Oh my
Massive.
God, yes.
The other word would be justice. And if I was to summarize all of those, I would say ma'at. Because ma'at, the principles of ma'at is what I live by. So yeah, those three things are very, very important to me. Truth, love, and justice. That's me. That summarizes everything about who I am.
You see the way you said, I don't know if the viewers caught that, but the looking at you and listening to you,
Yeah.
hold on to that, affirm and honor that was so powerful in that moment. It's like he wasn't here. He was like, this is who I am. And this is the
It,
reason why I enforce the warm-up zone, because people are sometimes so consumed with the story that's taken over their life that we forget sometimes that childhood innocence. We live in survival mode. I'm trying to get out of that myself. We live in so much survival mode that it's the first thing people talk about, the problem. Everywhere they go, the problem. So the warm-up zone for me allows me to see the light in your eyes and to see other sides of you. Yeah, it's all psychological. I love it. Yeah. All right. Let's get into this subject that you are zealously want to get into. Seven, thanks for joining us. Before we get into the layers, let me turn to the viewers. Hi, viewers, and for those who be watching this playback. We will create space for those of you that would like to leave comments. We'll come back to that. But what we won't do is interrupt the actual conversation to be going back and forth in the inbox, but we will create space. Yeah, Seven? Yeah?
Greetings. Yeah. to everyone. I want to say a shout out to my sister and Stop the Silence, Sister Kemet and Gail. I don't know if you're both there, but I'm sending you love. Sending love to everybody that is joining us live today. It's huge. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sending out my love. And obviously to the beautiful sister. I love you. I'm feeling your hat right now. I'm feeling the future.
Thank you. You see, the hat you're wearing is my favorite type of hats. I've been wearing it from the age of 20. So I've been trying to try new styles. So I'm branching out a little bit. So thank you, Sacred Butterfly. That's good.
I love it. I love it. I'm a hat person, as you obviously must tell. Yeah. I'm feeling it, sis.
All right, Seven. So let me allow you to get into your moment of this talk, guys. Today, this is actually an exclusive talk, and Seven is known in her own right and established in her own right. And today, she would like to come and share her story. Whilst I kick back and also allow her to be the pilot and drive this conversation and steer this conversation with me. Okay, as I said, we will return back to the inbox and check your comments, but we will not be stopping the conversation to attend to it until we correct space. Seven, today's conversation, topic of the hour is on the media networks, how they are fiercely trying to take over your life, but most definitely has stolen your art, your creations, your world, that they're capitalizing on right now. Some of the TV shows that you have been the creative inventor for, such as 10 Years Younger, Strictly Come Dancing, You Are What You Eat, and so much more. Take us to the very beginning of this story. Where did it all begin?
Okay, well, I'm going to try and summarize because, and I think I'm tasked. I want to keep the vibration high, even though what has happened to me and many of our people, I think I am the catalyst of change. And I want to tell my experience from the position of looking forward, how we look forward as a people, how we protect ourselves. So my story began really because I grew up, as I mentioned earlier, in an amazingly creative household. Lots of music, dance. My mother came from a fairly large family, but it's not unusual for people in the Caribbean, 15 brothers and sisters. There's a lot of professors in my family, a lot of, really intelligent people. So I was very blessed in that sense. So I grew up in a household with lots of literature, poetry, and I had a brother, my eldest brother, even though I'm the seventh child, my eldest brother was an amazing soul. I think today we would perceive him as what's termed as an ascended master or a babalao or a shaman. He was very young but extremely gifted and learned. He was just the most amazing person you'd ever meet. And I don't think I exaggerate or am being biased when I talk about my brother that way, because every single person that met him knew that he was a force to be reckoned with, but not in, it was a quiet power. He was very humble, never ever swore, never ever had a bad word to say about anybody. Never in his whole time and my journey with him, I never ever heard him speak badly of anybody. And he never wore jeans. He always was like suited and booted and dressed.
So he was the gentleman.
Absolutely.
The gentleman. Tell me, as we warm into the actual conversation of it all, get a bit into the layers of where this began in terms of your creations and how it got, how did they manage, let me jump straight in. How did they manage to take your source of concepts?
Well, basically, as I was saying, I wouldn't just start with my brother because he was the inspiration. He died
Okay.
at the age of 30, and I had never experienced anybody that close to me pass. And so I decided that I would do something because he was very ill. As much as he
Mhm.
was brilliant, he was very poorly all his life. I had a very psychic bond with him. And
Mhm.
so when he actually passed, I just felt compelled to do something in health and fitness, health and well-being. I mean, I'm a Virgo, so I'm very much big on health anyway and looking
Mhm.
after myself and just in mind, body, spirit, you know. And so when my brother passed, I was already in the entertainment industry. I was a session musician. I was playing for a lot of famous artists and
Mhm.
also playing live all over the UK primarily. And I decided to turn my attention to doing something that would be a testament to my brother and also to
Mhm.
pay it forward. And so I decided I would create a multimedia platform that addressed health and fitness and well-being within entertainment. As I said, I was
Mhm.
around dancers, musicians, you know, where I grew up in, I come from central London. And so there was a massive movement of really talented people. You know, if you went to places like Covent Garden, you'd always see buskers and really dancers and all sorts of people. So basically, I decided I was going to put all the things that I did for myself together. I did a lot of sort of research into hospitals, and I spoke to doctors because there were a lot of doctors treating my brother
Mhm.
before he died at the age of 30. And so I spoke to them. I spoke to lots of patients. I did a lot of research into people that had had strokes. I used to look after people that had strokes as well, and cancer, etc. And so I decided I would take all this information and create something that would pay it forward. I researched all the schedules for like till the beginning of you know, broadcasting of what they had created, and I saw that what I had intended to create, they had nothing like it. So I set about basically putting together what I knew when I got to the sort of final drafts. I knew what I had created was a winner. I just knew
Mhm.
it. Just like
Mhm.
somebody who had created a hit song. If you write a song and you just know it's going to be a hit because you can feel it. And it was done with so much love for my brother, you know. I just knew that love was going to be picked up on. And so I set about how to protect it, and that's when it began. The other thing I was doing was also I was writing a book at the time. That also got
Mhm.
stolen in this whole journey. But I start just with the multimedia platform,
Mhm.
and so I go to the Law Society and I contact them. I said, look, I live in central London. I need a lawyer. I've created something. I want to license it to all the different networks. You know, can you recommend me a lawyer? I'm quite pedantic as a Virgo. I think we cross our I's and our T's. So anyway, I
Mhm.
get this name from the Law Society of the media law firm Russells, which is based in West One, was based in West One. I don't know if they're still positioned there since my case, etc. But yeah, it's off Regent Street, Warwick
Okay.
Street, actually.
Mhm.
And so it's a media law firm, so they specialize in the entertainment industry particularly. But
Mhm.
I didn't know that I walked into an organized crime cartel, and that's where
Right.
my began. I didn't have any knowledge of that. I put together two non-disclosure agreements, and when I got in there, I said, look, I want to license my work, but I actually need to protect myself. And he said, oh, we have confidentiality anyway. I said, well,
Mhm.
yeah, but you know, I rather you sign. I brought two of my documents. Now, one of the things I want to say is that the area that I came from, I'm no longer there at the moment, but I came from an area where I knew everybody. I knew all the shops. I'm a character. You know, I say hi to people. I pop my head in and go, hi, how you doing? What you doing? So everybody knew what I was doing. Lots of people in the neighborhood knew what I was doing. Lots of the shops. There was a printers that used to bind all my documents so beautifully, you know, and everybody was rooting for me, you know, so everybody knew when I was going to the meeting, etc. So I said, yeah, I'm going to lawyers. And so basically they got my documents so beautifully bound. So when I rocked into this place in this law firm, they assigned me to a guy called Christopher Gossage. He was a young Caucasian guy, tall Caucasian guy. And so I got him to sign my non-disclosure agreements. And then I allowed him to peruse over two documents, two of my my concepts, basically, in very much book fashion, bounded like books. And so basically he went through the pages and he went, did you do this? I said, yeah. At the time, I was a lot younger than, I was 38 at the time, and I looked probably about 15. I looked stupid young, so he probably just thought I was completely green. And in respect of what I've been through, I would never have anticipated. So, you know, I wasn't banking on it. I knew corruption existed, but not on that level. And so this man was pacing the room, literally like, did you do this? And I said, yeah, I did. And he said, I said, I would like to license it to production houses. I've got my own production company. Now, I created my own production company, which was made up of people that I knew, friends of mine that were dancers, accountants, lawyers, you know, law graduates. And so I already had my own vision for what I wanted to do with my work. It was just a question of me licensing it to get the money to put my work. So he was literally leaping around. He was pacing the room. He was like, yeah, we could lease it to Endemol. We could go to Channel 4. We could go to, he was literally like off, you know, streaming all these different companies. And I was just watching him and I was like, whoa, okay, Seven, you're going to have to get some, a record here. So I decided after I spoke to him that I would create a paper trail so that all the conversations were on email, because emails are signed, you know, they're time stamped. And I thought if anything goes wrong, I'm going to have a record of what is being discussed. So between myself and himself, and all the companies that he was recommending me to, Endemol, Make Big Brother, and Channel 4, all the different networks, ITV, I had conversations with him about. It was all in the email. So from after the first initial meeting, he took me on as a client. So I was a Russell's client. To protect my work, the rights of my work, and so that I would be recognized as the creator and the owner of these productions. And so he also gave me copyright statements and contracts. So anybody that I go to a meeting with, they would have to sign these contracts and sign to have seen the statement that I am the creative owner of all these works. And so basically after that, what actually happened was I started getting headhunted by people in the entertainment industry. One man in particular called Richard J. Hanna. He's a black man from Sierra Leone who was working.
May I ask something? When you actually, because obviously you were already, you know, doing music and dance, and you were known by people. Did anyone represent you, or did you basically have the contacts and you walked in there independently and self-managed?
Yeah, well, I had my own production team, so I put it out to my production team how many of us should go to any meetings, if anybody wants us to go to meetings, who who wanted to go. So one of my friends, Lisa, she's Swedish, and she was a law graduate. So Lisa and I decided that we would attend together. So anyway, I got headhunted by this guy who wanted to meet the head commissioner of Scottish media groups. Now, Scottish media groups, who have since changed their name since my case, but Scottish media groups are affiliated to ITV Network. They're also Granada. They are Grampian Television, and there's a whole kind of conglomerate of networks that are all affiliated. And so this man in particular wanted me, Richard Hanna wanted me to meet this woman called Helen Alexander. And I said, listen, I've got my own production company. I don't really want a big company as such. I just want to be, you know, to run my own stuff. And he said, look, you've got to trust somebody. The industry is very corrupt. You've got to trust somebody. You might as well just come and see us, and etc., etc. And we can have your work on, you know, every network around the world very quickly. And I discussed it with my team of people that I was dealing with, and then Lisa and I decided that we would go. Now, had I have had kind of seen the emails, sorry.
A relevant question, just so you know, in between your story, I'm going to be interrupting you to ask you relevant questions. So a relevant question I've seen, which is very relevant to pop up, which has popped up, is, was not any of your work copywritten?
Of course it was. As I said, I had the copyright statements proving that I was the owner from the lawyers. You know, all copyright. I mean, I was dealing with the copyright from the get-go. I'm a Virgo. I don't play that. I'm very pedantic.
That's what I thought. So I guess we're still wondering how it happened, but proceed, carry on.
So as I said, I had gone to the lawyers, and even though he was planning to scam me, I still got out of him contracts so that anybody who I had meetings with and copyright proof that I was the copyright owner, that anybody who saw my work would know that I'm the owner. So anyway, what actually transpired is that Lisa and myself decided to go to the meeting. Now, I didn't actually see the emails because my computer was down at the time, but I didn't see the email that was sent by this man, Richard Hanna. Now, when we arrived there, we arrived to meet Richard Hanna, Helen Alexander, who attended with another man called James Manson, as in Charles Manson, the psychopath. Anyway, and I say that seriously. Anyway, so I get there, Lisa and I get there, and, you know, there's kind of like, I could see there was like a desperation for my documents. So before I let them see anything, have anything, I actually got them to sign my contracts, which were given to me by the lawyers, and the actual copyright to prove that I was the copyright owner of all of this work.
Absolutely.
What actually happened was, when we arrived in there, now, this place was a new broadcasting facility. It was the largest of its kind, and it had just been built. All the plastics were all over the chairs. The place was empty. So I was a bit surprised. Lisa and I were a bit surprised, like, why is this place empty? What's going on here? It was huge, a huge broadcasting facility. Now, what had happened was that they had loaned money, NTL had loaned money from Japanese investors to do all the sports channels, and basically to do all the sports productions in the UK.
Okay.
And they got outbid by Sky TV network. So basically all the boxing, all the World Cup, any sports, basically, they built these facilities to be able to be the #1 champion of any sports production in the UK. And so they got outbid. And so they had these big facilities, but they didn't have anything to do with these facilities. They didn't know what they were going to do to get their money back.
Okay.
walks me with a new concept to revolutionize how we deal with health and fitness in entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Ding, 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 bling, 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 bling.
Bling bling.
That beginning. That
Mm-hmm.
was beginning. Once they
Okay.
saw, they were literally, so basically, these documents, after I left the meeting, the documents were stolen. They didn't want to give them back. Before I knew it, my work was in a frenzy. They were frenzied trading my work.
Okay, let me stop you this for a moment. So your documents that got soon. Okay, so you went to this new building.
Yeah,
You were going to be the new brand that
yeah,
flourishes and brings them to fruition. Then you
yeah.
say that your work got stolen. There's the documents, but you had copies. Yeah.
Obviously, yeah,
Right.
obviously I had copies, but basically what happened was that they signed the contracts. I made them sign contracts. And then next thing I knew that my work was literally on every single billboard all over the world, on all being advertised on every single network. So I called up my lawyers like, what the hell's going on here? What's
Mm-hmm.
going on? And so the lawyer suddenly stopped speaking to me. He wouldn't take any of my calls, and I realized that they were all in on it. Basically, they just thought, we'll get rid of her, we'll take all the documents, get rid of her. The intention obviously was to get rid of me in the most aggressive manner possible. And it's important for people to recognize, because new people that are coming through into the
Mm-hmm.
industry, and as I said, I want to keep this high frequency. New people coming into the industry have to recognize that how we proceed in terms of our creativity has to be different.
Yeah.
Who we talk to, who we sell our work to, has to be different. We're going to have to go forward with a whole new level of consciousness, because one
Mm-hmm.
of the most important things is the truth. People have to get to the point where they recognize that all of these people, they have absolutely zero respect for us as melanated people, and they see us as people that they can just take from. That's what's
I
going
mean,
on
we've
right
been
about.
hearing stories forever, whether it's YouTube, whether there's a billion celebrities that has shared their stories and then some has come up missing, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So you say they basically they took your work, but although you
Yeah,
had copies,
yeah.
you tried to communicate with people from that company and the lawyer, and he started ghosting your calls, etc. What did you do next before we get into all they try to get rid of you? And what did you do next? What happened next?
So basically, I'm calling up the lawyers like every day. They're not answering any of my calls, and I'm seeing my work advertised. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I go to the police. Lisa and I go to the police. We make a police report, because copyright,
Wow.
two sides of copyright. There's the civil side and there's the criminal side. One of the things that the contracts that they signed specified that if you try to steal this, action will be taken,
Well,
immediate
of course,
action
of course. Hmm.
against. And so immediately I reported. But one of the things that happened was, in the very beginning, I started to see a van casing my joint that said Carlton Television. It was driving like, I lived on a street which had seven houses on either side. I was going to say
Hmm.
has, I'm not there anymore. But yeah, so basically from my window, from my third floor window, I could see either end of my street. Okay.
Hmm.
So one of the things that, as I told you before, there was a lot of people rooting for me. So when people found out that they stole it and they started to see my work everywhere, people were in tears. They were
Hmm.
gutted, because they knew how hard I was working, and it was for years. And this was a testament about my brother, because I did this as a tribute to my brother, to pay it forward to people that were sick. So there was a kind of sacred element to this for me. It wasn't just I created a TV show or TV show. I created a
It was a
genre.
deeper motivation altogether. Yeah.
Yeah, it was spiritual for me.
Hmm.
This was,
Hmm. Hmm.
and for my feeling was, how dare they? how dare they? It was sacrilegious what they did. It was like, you don't give a damn about how this came about, you know, why this came about. Who do you think you are? You know, so anyway, I was very upset, you know, and so was the people around me. But anyway, what happened was I started to see this van like circling my street. And as I said, my street, I could see 7 houses on either side. So it's a tiny street, really tiny street. And I was thinking to myself, what the hell is going on? Next thing I knew, there were men sitting outside my house.
Right.
Like cars sitting. And then basically I started being followed with men in vans with balaclavas on, making slit your throat signs at me. I was like, what? Then I started to get
Can I
desperate.
ask you something? There's a bit of the puzzle that has baffled me. You went to the police. What happened then before this, the apparent people following you? What happened with the police?
Well, first of all, I went to the meeting on the 11th of November 2003. Okay, so we're talking a 19-year journey here. And I discovered on the 3rd of December, that my work was all over the place. So when I went to the police, it was coming up to Christmas. So really, you know, it wasn't the right time. So I had to wait till January. So in the beginning of January, maybe the 3rd or the 4th of January, we went back to the and made a full crime report that my documents were stolen, because by January it was everywhere. It was on Time Out. It's featured on the cover of Time Out. It was literally every single company was involved. What they did was they chopped my work into bits and pieces, different shows, Strictly Come Dancing, Dancing with Stars. Now, Strictly Come Dancing, they used the name of an old show to disguise that they stole a new concept. Strictly Come Dancing, the one from the 70s or whatever, was ballroom dancing. It was just people going around ballroom dancing. My concept was to train celebrities how to dance. Now, this was a whole comprehensive package, multimedia platform of all kinds of disciplines, all kinds of mechanisms and ways to bring health and wellness using dance, using all kinds of different things, such as shows like 10 Years Younger, You Are What You Eat.
Did you name the shows you're speaking of now, like Strictly Come Dancing, 10 Years Younger, You Are What You Eat? Did you actually name these shows?
They chose the name Strictly Come Dancing to disguise the fact that they'd stolen it from me.
Right.
Because
what about the other shows? Did you name the show? Did you name those shows?
Well, basically, one of my concepts was, 10 Years Younger. That came from me because of the fact that I look so young for my age. A lot of people used to be shocked when I tell them my age. They're like, no way, you know. I'm 57. Most people have no idea.
Wow, you definitely don't look that 57. You look great. Yeah. Wow.
When I was
so you came with the concepts, and they basically came up with all the names, is what we're saying here then, yeah?
What they did, no, some of the names were stolen from me as well. And even post, but we're not going to get into post all of this, because what actually happened was, once they realized that they found the golden goose, they put a whole operation around me to continuously steal from me forever, hacking my computers, hacking my phones. I was getting death threats. Me and my mother would walk down the street and they would tell me in these vans. I would see the same vans outside of my house, outside other people's houses. People were like saying, what's going on, Seven?
So you have people in your life that can verify these stories?
Absolutely. It's
so surreal to, if you could imagine, we hear of stories with celebrities, and people, I guess, that's where we're at. People, we're going to believe it because they're celebrities. And I guess because you're not, classified as a celebrity, it's like, really? Did that really happen? Do you know what I mean? So you have people that can verify these stories.
Well, basically, taking proceedings in the court, and I had 14 witnesses who also produced evidence, and I sued 10 corporations, and I won the biggest case ever in the history of broadcasting for one woman to win. They didn't turn up in court. They were bricking it because they didn't anticipate. First of all, they didn't know how old I was. They thought I was a lot younger than I am. So they thought it was going to be a walk in the park. And, you know, in a way, I have to say this, what happened there was supernatural. The Most High took over me, man. And I tell you what, how this case got produced, it was supernatural. The amount of, because I had to produce evidence on 10 corporations and 10 individuals and show all the causal links of how these companies got my work, how the work got stolen, the paper trail, the timeline, because I had it for years. As soon as I came into their company, bam, it got stolen. So I could prove that I had it for years. I had TV schedules that were going back generations. From the beginning of inception of TV, I had every single schedule that had ever been produced by TV networks to prove that they had nothing like what I created. I could prove that it was stolen. I could prove that I was being stalked. I was being, literally, they started to send me death threats when they knew that I was taking proceedings. Because what happens is, when you go to their law firms, they close ranks on you. If they want to steal from you, they will make sure, they'll invite you into their offices, pretending that they take your case, because they want to know what evidence you've got against them so that they know how to fight. And they didn't know what evidence I had. They didn't know that I had this stuff for years, because I went to a meeting. I didn't tell him I've done this for years, blah, blah, blah. He had no idea. So they didn't know what they were up against when they came across me. And so, as I said, I'm very pedantic. I'm very cross your I's and your T's. And this was a sacred thing to me. It's, you know, it was like, how dare you think you can just come and take my work? For years, I labored over this stuff, and you think you want to take my work and come and threaten me? So they started putting...
So let me ask you, Seven, two things. The first thing is, you said you won one of the biggest cases. When you won that, what was the outcome? Because naturally, they're not going to give you back these shows now. Winning it, was it just, you know, justification for you saying, I've won this, I've been acknowledged and heard? Or did anything come from you winning other than the fact that you won the case?
Well, basically, I won the case, and you can hear the courtroom audios. Maybe we can put it in the, I don't know if we can put it after.
I've heard some of it. I don't know how we could, but I mean, I've heard some of them.
Okay, I mean, if everybody friends me on, I don't know if you can put them on IG, because IG is small videos, right?
What I don't know how. Do is I could just add the links when I download this post, or we'll find a way, because that will be interesting for people to actually hear it for themselves. I've heard some of it myself.
Yeah.
Some of the cases, yeah.
One of the things, the judge was winded. First of all, he tried to stop me from taking proceedings. I had to go into hiding for about 3 months because there was a hit on my life. It became
that's the other question, but because we're going back and forth on it, that's the other question. You know, these are media people. If they wanted to out you, they would out you.
Listen,
you know what I mean? They outed the most gangsterist person existing in you know, in hip hop. So if they wanted to actually get rid of you, why are you still here? I'm just wondering. I mean, well, I'm glad you're still here. I'm talking about in terms of the psychology of these people. If they really wanted to, they're probably just trying to scare you, but they really wanted to. What is it then, do you think?
It's not that. It's not that. These people have tried. They told me that me and my cousin, because I was fighting the case with my cousin as well, and they poisoned him. But you see, when you're dealing with these kind of people, how did they poison him? I found him. I found him in the middle of the night. I hadn't seen him for a little while. Well, first of all, let me go back a little bit, because it's a bit of a journey, and obviously we're talking 19 years and I can't go through everything.
But I'm trying to keep focused on the conversation. So there's two things I'm trying to focus on. Is what happened when you say you won the case. So what was the what was the resolution from that? And two, then you saying they're trying to out you. So if I can just get clarification on when you say you won that case, what did you gain from the winnings? What did they give back to you or say to you? What happened?
Well, basically, it's a slave trade. What happened was I won the case. Next thing we knew, the judge was dead who ruled in my favor. Judge Pumphrey, they said he was dead. And so they corrupted all the documents. They tried to make out that I never went to court. I never had no witnesses. I never had no case. They never turned up. I turned up and I automatic default judgment against them. This is all documented. I got automatic judgment and the judge ruled in my favor because they were trying to strike the case out. Now, the case had two aspects to it. One side of it is criminal, the other side is civil. I took the civil proceedings. Excuse me. I probably need some water.
Yeah, please feel free. In the meanwhile, I can then turn to the viewers and catch up on some of these comments. So take a breath. It's a good time to take a breath. Yeah, please do grab some warm water and get yourself reinvigorated. That's fine. Okay, let's see what people are saying. Do you want to grab some water, Seven?
Yeah, it will just go to the ceiling for a minute.
No, that's not a problem. Hi, guys. Okay. Thank you for still being here with us. It's one of those quite lengthy unraveling stories. So we're still trying to unlayer as Seven takes us through her journey with these cases. So let's see some of your comments. Resting face. Unfortunately, sometimes when I read back the comments, it would be relating to something a little bit earlier. But as you can imagine, if I keep interrupting the talk to get to comments, it becomes really disruptive. So let me try and connect the dots with the comments that were on there before Seven comes back in a moment. Okay, so resting face 19, is that your peep, Sev? It says now living...
Greetings, fam. Greetings.
Yeah, by the comments, I'm thinking she knows you. This individual knows you, yeah. Now living in no man's land. The levels are shocking. Okay. And was also the individual who spoke about the copyrights, but we asked you that question, yeah. Do you have the original files? As only one computer will show the original date, yeah. Yes, Virgo, I knew it, she said. Okay. Okay, let's scroll up. Yeah, she also says in the music industry and life in general, we need to stop stealing from each other. We need to do better. Absolutely. Let's go back. Okay, Sacred Butterfly, what's good? She says, wow, you look amazing in reference to your age. Absolutely, you do. Okay. This makes sense of some of these. And Afro says, I was meant to be here in the midst of this. Divine timing. Guidance, crying. Oh man.
Thank you.
Official says I had property stolen by Disney. Wow. Okay, so maybe we can hear your story next. Inbox me. We can bring you on the live. That would be great as a part 2 of somebody else's experience. That'd be amazing if you want to do a talk. That would be great. Disney. Wow. Okay. Let me give a wave to Truth Poetic. Okay, so Resting says, I think the main issue for Seven is the targeting. We're going to get more into that. And Sacred Butterfly says, I'm interested to know why you didn't go through as a criminal case. That's a woman who knows her law, but the fact she asked that question, that's good, yeah? Okay, so let's ask some of those questions, okay? So Sacred Butterfly says, she's interested in knowing on why you didn't go through as a criminal case. What's your response to that?
It was a criminal case, but
Mhm.
the Metropolitan Police in the UK had a duty to send it to the Crown Prosecution Service, and that's something that we're still addressing because they never did. They never protected me. They never protected my cousin. My cousin and I went to the Metropolitan Police, and I'm still at this point trying to get restraining order, police, criminal restraining orders, because what happened was a whole operation was put around me, which effectively is a slave trade, to continuously steal from me forever. And the Metropolitan Police, basically everybody has protected this criminal operation and allowed it to continue at my demise. So people were moved in front of where I lived. At either
Mhm.
side, as I told you, I lived on a very small street. I lived at
Mhm.
the corner house. So either side of my house, people moved in too, and they were filming me from inside my house. Repeatedly had my house broken into. I I got death threats every day, basically, particularly when I went to court. We were followed by helicopters to go to court. My cousin and I were followed by helicopters literally everywhere.
It sounds
And
so surreal. Can
um,
I just go to the next
I
question, Steph?
succeeded.
Go ahead. Okay, I'll go to the
Yeah,
next question. Thank you for answering that.
yeah.
Okay, and Sacred Butterfly also says, what was the outcome of the case and what year did the judge die?
Well, the judge ruled in my favor, and I got default judgment, which should have meant that they would have settled. What would have been the fairest thing, is to say, okay, yeah, we took it, fair
Mhm.
enough, let's settle it out of court. But basically, they didn't want me to have anything. And that is still the case, Instead, they wanted to have me as a continuous source of revenue, whereby they will continuously steal everything, and they have done for 19 years. They hack my computers. Anything I'm working on, even if I change my computers, I change my phone, I change my phone number.
So surreal.
Basically,
Wow.
the key things that you have to recognize is that NTL became Virgin Media. This is a telecommunications company. That's the first thing people have to understand. And so these people are involved in phone networks, media networks. The other
Hmm.
thing is that these people control intelligence agencies such as GCHQ. Um, they're basically running a whole syndicate, which is a slave trade. It's an exploitation
Okay.
syndicate, which is run by all of these, lots of lawyers are involved. Um, just a whole white collar criminal crime syndicate that they target specifically creative individuals. They could target all kinds of individuals right now, because we're talking 20 years later, almost 20 years, 19 years later. Gang stalking is a phenomena everywhere, all over the world. And it's not just people in the creative industries that are targeted anymore. It's all kinds of people, particularly in the melanated community. So we're talking single mothers, single black females, creative. So basically, people like myself who they can see is about to break it big in the world of entertainment. It could be a singer, somebody who's on the verge of a brilliant career, who's got lots of amazing songs. They've done it to other people, but I know one case of
Okay.
a man who came to tell me about a sister who's very famous. I'm not going to give you her name out of protection for her, but she was big on the underground, and everybody knew she was going to blow up and be successful and be massive, and she was. She's a UK artist, and when they went to give her record contracts, they sent henchmen in because she had people that were protecting her, and they could see that the contracts that they gave her was to literally steal everything that she would ever create forever.
Mhm.
But in that case, there are people the brothers that stepped in to make sure that didn't happen. And when they stepped in, they sent henchmen after them. You know, they wanted to beat these guys up because of the fact that they weren't able to scam her. But many people in the industry, from Sam Cooke to Jackie Wilson, Otis Redding, you know, even what happened to Prince recently and James Brown. There's a massive case about James Brown. His son has been flagging up that he was murdered. Many people are murdered.
So
For
they're
their
talking about Julio now, but let's not get there. Let me get to the next questions. What I'm going to do in this moment is go through the questions, allowing you to hopefully briefly answer it so that we can proceed with the live. Yeah, thank you for that. Sacred Butterfly also asks, so you won the civil case, and will you have to pursue a separate criminal case?
Well, that's what we're in the middle of doing right now, because what has happened is that for the last 19 years, I've been on a targeting program, being stalked, having my house broken into every day, my computers destroyed, my phones destroyed. I've had to move from place to place. They've now stolen my home. They've stolen all of my possessions. They come after me wherever I am. They've been trying to murder me. Like literally, I've had to escape many attempts.
Sorry to cut you. We're going to get into that, sis. I'm trying to, yeah, we're going to get into that side. I'm just trying to answer the questions briefly, just so that I can give the viewers an opportunity to ask you what they want. But there's someone in the inbox who's also saying they've experienced or going through the same thing. So now that I've answered as much as I can on Sacred Butterfly, thank you so much for that. Let me go to, can I bring up, that question again? Resting. Let me go to, sometimes Instagram, you flick the questions. Okay. Okay, so let me go back a little bit. Thank you for your interactions, guys. Let me go back a little bit. Because I know Reston's left a few comments for you and stuff, Seven. So let me see. Oh,
thank you for the questions, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I need to like minimize how you answer it. Otherwise, we're never going to get to this live. It's going to be a very lengthy one today, guys. Okay, let me see. And I know you can't squeeze someone's life in an hour. You know what I mean? So let me see. So you've asked that one with these comments. I just got to go back slowly. Let's go back. Can you see when I'm scrolling, guys? You can't see it on that side. Let's go back a bit. Reston had a few things he wanted to say. I know you were saying that you have gone for the same thing. Let me see.
Shout out to you, sis. You know, she's been through 37 years of hell, this sister, right now. It's
so you know, yeah, okay. So you know the storyline.
Yeah.
Of course, the system, you know, including courts, support higher levels of organized crime. We definitely know that. But I'm thinking more for celebrities, to be honest. So to hear that, you know, do you know what I'm saying? Just why people are going to be, whether it's Seven or somebody else, unfortunately, people are going to be like, what? Because we're used to celebrity status of people, things happening, the Whitney Houstons, the this, the that, the that. So we're like, okay, that makes sense, conspiracy. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? We're not expecting someone who's not on that level to be going through this. It's so surreal and almost unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? But we know that these things...
Sorry to cut you, sis, but let me make a clarification. My work is some of the famous work in the world. Even though I'm not known, my work is very celebrity. You know, celebrities go on my show. They make their careers on my show. People go on to dance. And so my shows are the biggest shows all over the world. And so behind the scenes, I'm stalked on levels like paparazzi. I have like sometimes 200 people in a day following me around. So although, you know, their job, they have a vested...
Okay, let's get straight into that as I pause on the comments, yeah? With all these people that are following, With all these
Yeah,
people
I
that
want.
are following you, let's say 200 people, these 200 people, not any of them's been able to get hold of you if they're following you. What are these 200 people doing when they see you? That's the fascination kind of surreal part that I'm finding hard to chew on. If there's like so
Yeah.
many people following you, which you know, when they see you and you are reachable, because you obviously, you know, you can't hit a button and fly into the sky and disappear. What happens in these moments when you see them and they see you?
Well, basically, they stalk you. They send you death threats. One of the things I encourage everybody to do, I want you to look at, it's a manual. It's called Gangs. It's a gang stalking manual, and it was exposed by a doctor called Rani Kilner. She's a Finnish doctor, and she became familiar. She became aware about this targeting program. Now, many of you will know about the Harvey Weinstein and the Me Too hashtag movement, right? Which was basically about some of the is going on in the entertainment industry. Now, that whole situation exposed that they use black ops to silence victims. Now, what they didn't really tell you in the Me Too movement is that they have a slave trade running, stealing from, particularly from melanated black women in the industry.
Wow.
Black women. It's massive. And so I'm launching a hashtag called Back Off. I want everybody to go onto the website live while we're talking here so that you can have a look, while I'm talking to you, can have a look at some of the materials, because it will give you an insight how these books are working. You know, I said to you that it's a whole operation. There's a whole operation because they have a vested interest. For the last 19 years, they've made billions upon billions of pounds on me, off my work. There's loads of people living off my estate right now, and they all have a vested interest not to make sure that I get one penny.
So let me go
And
back on the
because
question I just asked you, just so I can get clarity. And then I can let me go to that first, actually. Resting says, you know, she'd love to know why it's such a taboo, you know, subject, especially in our community. Basically, people not believing until they're exposed. You know, why do you think that is, that people don't believe? Because obviously, again, like me saying, we're used to celebrity. I know your work is celebrity status, but celebrity individuals, and people don't seem to doubt that as much now that people are more aware about secret societies, etc. So why do you think it's so taboo answering one of Reston's questions until they're exposed and we can see proof?
I don't have
People want to see proof. That's the
I
reality.
don't have an issue with people even.
Mhm.
You know, I have actually built. Sorry, we're talking over each other. But basically, in my case, I don't have people that don't believe me. Everybody believes me because I have a massive amount of evidence. I'm asked to speak before judges and magistrates. I have, fortunately,
You have receipts.
become recognized by the law fraternity, and so I'm asked to be a guest speaker before international judges and magistrates. I've got one of the biggest reports by the head of police, a former top criminal analyst in the UK, who did a report featuring my case because of the level of corruption in the British media and the judiciary. And its links to the Leveson inquiry. The Leveson inquiry is into the phone hacking scandal that took place in 2010. And the Leveson inquiry exposed that people were hacking people's computers. Because I've been talking about this for the last 20 years. However, it took till the News of the World got caught hacking into people's computers and stealing from them. This has been standard practice. I don't meet people that don't believe me, generally everybody, because I've got the largest body of evidence.
So you've got your support. So you're basically answering this individual's question about why it's so taboo, obviously by the question I'm asking you also. And when I do ask people questions, it's not always from my perspective. It's what people would naturally ask or people would naturally, you know, reflect on. So we're glad to hear that you've got a body of people that support you and, you know, encourage you, uplift you, and, you know.
There's a lot of evidence.
You got receipts, exactly that.
There's a
Okay.
lot of evidence in my case, and I've never lost a case. Any case that I go into, because it's all about the truth. Law is really about one thing and one thing only: who's lying and who's telling the truth. That's all it's about. Now, because of the fact that these people have been lying and they've been living off my estate, they ramped up the abuse and the stalking against me. And also they put out lies, and that's gaslighting. That's standard practice. It's standard in the industry. We're talking about a case that will expose levels of corruption in the UK that they would rather people didn't look at. You know, they'd rather never ever have to pay me a penny. I mean, this is, in their mind, they have a culture, in the UK in particular, they have a culture of entitlement. They have a culture basically where they believe, first of all, that I'm less deserving than they are because they are supremacists. Most of the people that are behind this kind of abuse are supremacists. They believe that they're elite. They believe that they have an entitlement to take from melanated people. Look at the British Museum. You know, I mean, they have us over there. This is a culture of theft. The whole culture is standard practice to them. So anybody who would come with the idea that these people don't do that is obviously they're not educated. They're not awake. You know, they've been walking around in sleep and slumber. You know, the whole place is built on theft and abuse and exploitation.
Oh my God, on theft, 100%, 100%.
You have to raise the bar, and they have a culture of entitlement. They actually believe that I don't have a right to anything because of the color of my skin. I don't have a right
let me go into from the court cases to you being stalked. Let me go back on the question that hopefully, you know, you can elaborate on. When you have this large amount of people that are following you and you recognize them, what happens in these moments? I'm trying to picture what happens. They see you, you see them. Some of them send you, you know, slit throat signs. What happens? Like you said you had 200 people in one day following you. What did that look like? What did you do? Play that scene for us.
Yeah, it's not every day that it's 200, but some days it's not.
Of course not. Yeah.
I have had as much as 200 people follow me in a day, depending on where I'm going. I'm generally followed on the bus if I get on the bus.
What are they doing and what happens in those moments is what I'm trying to really get to grips with.
Most of the time they will try to film me, or they will film me, and that's standard. They film you, they follow you around. I get followed by vehicles. Now, if you look at the gang stalking manual, and the website to go on is Backoff Live, www.backoff.live. Backoff.live. If you go onto the website, and we have a campaign really to highlight the abuse of melanated Black women in the UK, because it's off the charts right now. I have sisters coming to me from all over the world, but particularly in the UK.
Sorry, Steph. I'm still trying to get this so we can, people that watches this back as well, can understand with all the following and threats, what does that look like? I'm still trying to like stick on that point before we go, you know, to the other side of it. Like what, you know, if you're having this day to day, maybe week to week or month to month, where you've had to move houses multiple, I'm trying to get to that side of the conversation now. With what does that look like for you? What's life like for you now daily, where you're being followed? Are you seeing them and running away? Are they chasing you? Are you seeing them and being like, oh, it's only them? What can you play out the scene of what that looks like day to day for you?
On different days, but basically every single day, if I go out, particularly if I'm on my own. Right now, I can't go out unaccompanied because they've made it very clear a week or so ago, a couple of weeks ago now, that I would be murdered. I went on the bus.
How did they notify you that what happened?
Well, I was on the bus, and the man basically sat on the bus, and he started to make stabbing gestures and nod his head like, "You're going to be murdered." I could see it was getting ramped up, because what was happening was I'm followed by not just men on foot, people by vehicles. They have on the vehicles, so they write kind of on the number plates. They go as far as to have number plates, and they'll put things like 7 to hell. They'll put 7 in a box, literally on a number plate, and they'll drive past me. They drive past me with vehicles that say 666.
So the guy on the bus that done the stabbings and symbols,
yeah.
what was your response?
I got off the bus because I realized that he was warning. I don't know if he came to warn me or if he just told me, you know, you're going to be killed. All right.
Do you ever take pictures of any of these people? Do you ever take any form of footage?
So I do take footage. I take pictures. Not, you know, obviously. So there are times when you're so shocked, because I mean the levels that these people will go to. This is why I was saying to you, I want people to go to the website. If you go to the website, there is a manual there, and everything that I'm telling you right now is written in that manual.
The thing is though, sis, the website is one thing, but getting people to get to a tangible understanding of your journey on an autobiographical level, why I'm being the journalist, want to be, and pursuing the question as opposed to all the statistics in court, and getting to the woman in you and your daily life, your day-to-day life, and you know what that looks like for someone who this, you know, we're blasé going about our life, going here, going there. And when to have someone like you to come on and express such a traumatizing and such a long journey of it, I'm trying to get a clear, as if I'm watching a television, I'm trying to get a clear picture of what the life of Seven is like. Not just the court dates and the websites, but coming from the soul of you. It's a big difference. And people can go and look at all these links. I hope they do. You can send them to me. I can add them on the link and everything. But that's why it's important that I don't get distracted with all the, well, just the case, but get into the soul of what's happening with you on a day-to-day. And we watch all these things on TV, but to have someone speaking about it is another level.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well,
and that's why I've got to not be distracted by, you know, the tantrums that come with these kind of talks, and I have to explain it like this and be quite honest about why I'm bringing it back. So there's clarity for the viewers, and there's clarity, because as you speak your story, someone right here in this inbox has been, because they're going for the same thing. So your voice has been needed. Your voice and your story has been so relevant. You see what I mean? And it opens other portholes. People like this person here who I'm hoping to bring on my live, inbox me straight after the show. You know, it's important. So this is the reason why I'm trying to also balance up, you know, the politics with the reality, the politricks with the reality of what you're really, really living. So again, we can do all the links after, we can do all the plugs after. But as we draw this live to a slow close, I'm trying to work out now and ask you now the point of, when did you first now start, you know, when did you need to leave your first property after all this stalking and realizing things are happening? What, you know, what happened next? When did you decide to go on, you know, leave, go to refuges and safe houses? Let's get to that part of the conversation if possible.
All right. Okay. Well, first of all, one of the things they do is they recruit people from around you. So my partner was recruited, and obviously he was obviously he received rewards to take me out. So I became aware that he and 2 of my friends, one of them that I'd known all my life, my mother and her mother knew each other. She was even one of the witnesses in the case. And I had to spend my time while I was with my partner in the bathroom most of the time. He would play sound bites, audio sound bites about how I would be murdered, how myself and my cousin would be murdered, but I managed to escape. And my cousin, not so lucky. I found my
So
cousin.
so you was with your partner at the time at home. Are we thinking at home? And then all of a sudden he started to play these sound bites, and you cottoned onto.
His behavior, I knew him for many years. I knew him for 12 years.
So he progressively started changing.
Yeah, I mean, we were together
Right.
for friends for 6 and together for 6. And
Mm.
within about 2018, I started realizing that the man that I knew was not the man that I knew anymore. He would be sitting in front of shows about murder, and he would place a kind of blade in front. It was like he was psyching himself up
Oh my
to.
God.
And so I had to bin many blades. I would come and see this blade, and he'd be slumbered into the sofa
So you were
watching
seeing
it.
this over time and you were still with him though, yeah?
No, once I realized what was happening, I put the SOS, and people from, I was very fortunate that a brother and a sister, and shout out to them, they came and got me, and they brought a vehicle. They said they called him up, and yeah, they called him up and they said, don't put a hand on her, leave her alone, basically. And I managed to get out. So when I went back to my place, they started the abuse there. They cut my gas pipes. And then when we called the housing association, that the gas pipes, because somebody in the street noticed that there was a smell of gas. And before that happened, they kept trying to get into my flat. They kept making appointments, sending people that said they were gas people around.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I called up the housing association to see if I needed to have gas safety checks, and there was no
I saw
record
that
of.
video of evidence, by the way, where you asked the gas man, guys, this is so surreal.
Yeah,
She
that's
Seven asked the gas. Go
this
ahead.
is something. What you've seen is something that happened recently, but this is a pattern that
Ah,
they do.
okay.
One of the things that they do is that they'll infiltrate where you live. So if you live in social housing, most of the social housing associations, Genesis, London and Quadrant, I know have victims. People are reaching out to me from that housing association. They're part of the program. So basically, housing associations and councils partner with these criminal networks to give access to the person who's living in your property. So where you live, you will be given access to. And so I was unable to stay in my own property. I had lived there for 20 years in quite an affluent part of the UK, Hyde Park. I lived there for
Mhm.
20 years. And basically, I had to flee because of what happened. And I've had to flee many, many places. And the one that you saw recently is something that happened quite recently. So wherever I go, they show up in some way covertly, and they try to pretend that they're gas people or electric people. Before you know it, they're changing fuses, changing electrics to create a situation like Grenfell. Now, Grenfell, 2 of my family members died in Grenfell. They were on the 16th floor.
Sorry to
And
hear that. So can I ask
that was
you?
2017. By 2019, they had recruited friends and my partner.
Right. So I saw the
Yeah.
video of you.
And so I was just going to just finish the sentence.
Repeat that, please, because you broke up a little bit there. Say that again, Seven.
Say that again. Sorry.
I think we missed. There's a little bit of a disturbance there. I was going to say the video that
Sorry,
I saw. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you saw the video. That was a recent situation that I went somewhere and these men showed up. And this is consistent.
I was going to tell the viewers what I saw on the video, so it makes sense to them that the video I saw you saying to them, you know, who you been sent by, You was clearly asking them, these 2 engineers, correct me if I'm wrong, who they sent by. You made it clear that you've called the housing, they didn't send you. And one of the gentlemen had his back turned to you. He just looked aggravated. He was kind of, you know, it just didn't sit right. It did, and I can clearly see it didn't sit right. It seemed so suspicious. And then the guy, as you kept on asking him with a calm voice and clarity, he left. It was so
Yeah.
bizarre. He left. The other gentleman, melanated gentleman, yeah,
Yeah.
the second guy, you was talking, and it was like you wasn't there. I found that very strange.
Yeah. This is how we're treated with contempt.
Mm.
You know, the reality is that I have been robbed, I've been terrorized, family members of mine have been killed in this whole situation, but the victim is treated with contempt because they think that they have a entitlement to do exactly what they do. And actually they think, how dare I expect to be paid? How dare I expect to be treated with respect? How dare I have an emotion? How dare I feel pain? How dare I be traumatized by being terrorized and gang stalked? How dare you? This is the mentality that we're dealing with people who are on the lowest level of consciousness ever. They don't have a consciousness. They don't have the ability to process what that person must be feeling by their actions. They don't have the ability to see that. What they see is that you're not doing as they want you to do. They want you to go into a corner and be crushed. They want you to go into wherever and die. You see, the program is a punishment program, and I don't know if you're aware of this. In the UK, they have something called the whipping boy. Now, the whipping boy historically is when you get children of aristocracy. When a child from aristocracy commits some sort of crime or breaks something, let's say that there's a beautiful vase and they're running through the hallway as a child, as children do, and they break this vase. What they'll do is they'll get a melanated child and they'll whip the child on behalf of the child that actually did the crime. It's called whipping boy. Look it up. Now,
Interesting.
this
That's
gang stalking
interesting.
is extended. It's a number of things. It's also, it comes from COINTELPRO. The COINTEL program, which was really started with J. Edgar Hoover and the wanting to crush the Garveyites and Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who mobilized people for emancipation in America in the 1920s. This program that I am in and many people are in is the same program, but a modern day version, an extended version of it. It doesn't just, it's not just us as melanated people, but we are the largest body on that program, particularly in the UK. There is people from every single country all over the world is on the program, but the largest demographic is the melanated man, woman, and child. I would say that there's a large influx of melanated sisters on this program. And so the way that they treat people like myself, who they believe is being unruly because of the fact that I've said no, I've taken them to court. If you take proceedings against these people, because in this country, in the UK, if a white woman steals from a black woman, the white woman is protected and the black woman is punished. So it's a sort of a reverse psychology. The punishment that the woman who stole should be getting is transferred to the victim. So basically, she's given the privilege of being protected by the state so that they all share the money, they share the wealth of the person that they're stealing from. And the person, because they recognize there should be some punishment, right? There should be some consequence, somebody's stolen. But the punishment is given to the victim. If the victim is a black woman, not only is the punishment given to the black woman, the exploitation of her is expanded. It's expanded to terrorize her for the rest of her life. And so I currently have no home. I'm having to stay at different people's houses. I'm very blessed to be staying where I'm staying with beautiful, beautiful people. Shout out to them. They know who they are. you know, and be protected by brothers. And that's one of the things that, you know, we need to talk about, because as much as I'm talking about the program and mentioning the kind of ways in which they terrorize us, a very important aspect of all of this, moving forward, is what we do about it. And one
Absolutely.
of the
Can I
things,
just say, can you, so we can close on that point for the next few minutes, literally briefly wind down the live with just that, what we do, what is a solution you feel?
right, what we're launching is a hashtag, and I ask everybody to please friend me on your channel, Free Flowing Thoughts, on here on IG, and as well as me on Super7, Superhero 7 on Twitter.
I'm gonna put your page on the bottom of this, definitely.
Yeah, and I have UK Urgent News. I also have the YouTube channel UK Urgent News. I have another channel, Solutionaries Media Network, but they have blocked me from getting access to it. Right now, I'm trying to set up my own network. I'm trying to get a home. Since my journey, I think the Most High, because I'm articulate and I'm able to voice what many people who are on this program are unfortunately unable to voice. And I speak for us as a people, not just myself, I'm speaking for sisters. My journey has taken me onto the British streets, the streets of London, and I'm seeing that there are sisters from below the age of 16, and we have great grandmothers over the age of 70 who are now on streets. Right now, Black women are being denied homes. They're being forcibly put onto the streets on levels that is unprecedented. Sisters are being stalked inside their homes and outside their homes. Housing associations and social housing is involved in these programs. People are being terrorized to the point that you cannot stay in your home anymore. They have whole neighborhoods right now that are being stalked. It's not just even one person. They have, it's literally an industry that's
So
happening.
take us to the last word of solution, because we do need to close this live. So take us to the last.
Yeah.
What shall I just say? What would be your last words for the next 2 minutes, as I need to close this live tonight?
Okay, so
Go ahead.
we need your support. First of all, friend me on here. Basically join the hashtag campaign, which is hashtag back off, BACK off, back off, to make these people recognize that they cannot abuse us and use us and exploit us any further. There is a website which we are going to be officially launching very, very soon. It's already, I'm sending people the link, but we're officially going to be launching it. It is full of solutions. Back Off Live, backoff.live, www.backoff.live. Now, if you go onto that page, you'll see the campaign. It gives all the information of what's being done to us. One of the solutions that we need safe houses, because we're not safe. Sisters are writing to me, they can't go to work. They're being terrorized all over the UK. It's not me alone. I'm just sounding the alarm. The Most High did it to me so that I could come forward as one of the first ones and bring it to all of you. There's a sister on here who's being terrorized right now. And she needs support. There's a lot of sisters that are writing to me, and this is a massive program. It's a global program where they're terrorizing our people on levels that we have not seen for hundreds of years. Right now, it's like the 1800s. Okay, they're literally doing Hunger Games, stalking people, terrorizing people by foot, by car, by vehicle, stalking people inside and outside their houses. So what do we need? We need to raise awareness. We want to get the hashtag back off to become like the Me Too hashtag. We need it everywhere. We need, when you post on social media, to include the hashtag back off and post the feature the website. On the website, there's a number of tabs. You can go to case studies, where you can see court case information of cases that have been won and they're still not getting justice. We're still not being paid. 19 years I've not been paid 1 penny, and people are buying islands with my money. It's billions of pounds. We need to change that. We want that money back. That money has to be paid. We're creating a register, an official register of the people that are terrorizing and abusing people. That's also why they're trying to kill me, because I'm mobilizing people in the Black community. I'm mobilizing all kinds of organizations that deal with anti-stalking, violence against women, racism, institutional racism. I'm mobilizing people worldwide. I'm trying to get it recognized, domestic terrorism as a category. Right now is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, for the whole
Seven,
month. Like,
thank you very much. I'm so sorry to cut you. I actually have another live talk to go and do.
okay,
I'm so
all right.
sorry, guys. Bear with me
So
one
join
second.
everybody and friend
All
me
right.
Super07
I will
on.
add all the links, Seb. I'll add all the links. Guys, I have extended this live. No, don't just go just yet. 1 second. I have extended this live for over an hour and a half, and you can see it kind of needs a 3-hour talk, but you know what I mean. But usually I do my lives for about an hour max, and hour and a half. It's gone on forward. Hope today at least you've got something of an awareness. I know I have the insight of a whole nother world that's happening out here. You
Yes,
know,
you can
people
watch
that
the
go through,
networks.
people that are
Oh,
going through things, bear with me, Seth, people that are going through things that we wouldn't imagine. And so bringing the awareness in itself is so important for those who's watching this and those who watch the playback. I'll happily put you in touch of Seven's pages and where you can find all this information as me and Seven now are in touch. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to rock with us for this period of time on the live and all your interactions.
thank
I
you.
really, really appreciate you. Seven, I know that you cannot fit your story in an hour and a half, but unfortunately today, I'm also scheduled for another talk and duty calls. Thank you so much, Seb. We appreciate you. And I'm sure I'm not the
Thank
only
you.
one. Guys, let me give a heart to Seven. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's wishing you love, light, and continuous protection. Clearly you are a strong, divine soul
If
with
anyone,
great purpose. So I'm gonna cut the live now. And Seb, I will contact you shortly after. I always give guests and
thank
last
you,
minute checkup.
everyone.
So guys, good night. God bless. Inbox me, guys, if you want to schedule a live, and I'll make it happen.
Thank you.
Peace and love. Bye bye.
Thank you.